There were two people named Zeno in ancient Greece. One is Zeno of Elea, and the other is Zeno of Citium. Zeno of Elea was the student of Parmenides, who presented Zeno's paradox, and Zeno of Citium is the founder of Stoicism. Stoa refers to a column like this in a temple. Zeno gathered people and gave lectures in public spaces like a temple, which is why they got the name. At the time, Stoics talked about the attitudes of life, such as how to face adversity and not lose tranquility. So, their philosophy gained public popularity. Today, Plato and Aristotle are known as the center of ancient Greek philosophy, but at the time, Stoicism was more popular with the public. Today's story is Stoicism. To understand the Stoics, we must first understand their time. Ancient Greece was made of many city-states around the Mediterranean. They were really more like small cities than nations. Athens, which was the largest city-state, only had about 100,000 free citizens. Smaller city-states had populations of a few thousand or hundreds. But in the 4th century BC, Alexander the Great established a great empire across Greece, Persia, and India. He built big cities in his empires. They were called Alexandria. Although there is only one Alexandria in Egypt today, at the time all of those cities built by Alexander were called Alexandria. So there are many big cities called Alexandria. People all over the world gathered in cities like Alexandria. People who had been living in closely knitted city-states were suddenly now in a big city. Young people from small city-states who visited Alexandria would have loved this new city at the time. But after some time, they got tired of it. They began feeling loneliness in the midst of the crowd. Then Zeno began talking about how one should live, and people who were moved began following him. This is how Stoicism came about. Let's look at some representative Stoics. First, you have the founder Zeno, and Cleanthes, his student. Then there are Epictetus, who was a slave, Seneca, the teacher of Emperor Nero, and Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome. Stoic philosophy emerged in the 3rd century BC and was continued until 2nd century AD. So, although Stoicism began from this philosophy of Zeno, it changed from philosopher to philosopher and through the passage of time. The world of is and the world of ought are two different things. So we must discern problems of truth and problems of ethics. In logic, failure to differentiate these two things is a fallacy. The naturalistic fallacy is the fallacy of coming up with an ethical statement based on factual premises. The reverse is called a moralistic fallacy. Natural philosophy is about the world of is, while ethics is about the world of ought. So strictly speaking, deriving ethical conclusions from natural philosophy is a fallacy. However, Stoics integrated natural philosophy and ethics. They tried to find ways to live a good life based on the material structure of the universe. So, in order to understand Stoicism, we must look at their natural philosophy and ethics together. First, let's take a look at the natural philosophy of Stoics. There are 3 characteristics of the natural philosophy of Stoics. First, materialistic monism. Everything is material. Not only humans, but even gods are material. The gods that the Stoics talked about are the Greek and Roman gods we see in mythology, not the capital God. To them, gods are all of the material beings, the whole world. That is, the world is the gods, and the gods are the world. It seems that there are similarities to the pantheism of Spinoza. Second, determinism. The world is made up of material matter. Material substances change and move according to the law of causation to achieve a certain purpose. So, the future is completely decided. Likewise, human destiny is also determined. In Stoics' philosophy of nature, we can see both Aristotle's teleological worldview and the modern causal worldview. Third, logos. Stoics believe that the principle of reason works across the nature, and this reason is logos. So the idea of Stoicism can be summarized like this. Everything that exists in the world is material, and these substances change and move according to the logos for some purpose, and the whole world is God. Stoics tried to derive ethics from their natural philosophy. The Stoics, who were materialistic monists, accepted the reality as it is in their attitude towards life. The world is a play where the director is God, the scenario is logos, and the actors are human beings. My character could be Cinderella, the lucky protagonist, or Hamlet, the tragic protagonist. But most are passerbys, soldiers on the battlefield, corpses. Even if so, as long as your role has been decided, do not try to change things and live as the scenario says. The actor cannot change the scenario. So actors should accept their scenario, accept their fate. Stoics use a metaphor. Say a dog is tied to a cart. The dog is destined to head to the destination with the cart. The dog can choose to either move willingly with the cart or move painfully while resisting it. The choice is up to the dog. Here, the cart is logos. The good life is living in harmony while conforming to logos. Actors may act emotions like joy, sadness, fear, and jealousy. That doesn't mean the actor really needs to be happy, sad, scared, and jealous. Acting is just acting. You don't have to actually indulge in those passions. It is foolish to indulge in such unnecessary passion. A state that is detached from passion and does not lose tranquility is called apatheia. If Stoicism were always so resigned, we wouldn't be talking about it now, 2,000 years later. Stoicism also talks about virtue. Virtue in Stoic thought varies slightly from era to era, and is a very broad concept. But in modern terms, it's inner strength, controlling oneself through indomitable will, not falling into temptation, but fulfilling one's duty, being free from passionate emotions, and all the while, having brotherhood for others. That is virtue. There are many anecdotes that show the strong will of Stoic philosophers. Epictetus was a slave, but he didn't participate in physical labor. At the time, there were professional office slaves who worked in accounting and teaching. Epictetus never got angry. One day, his master had people twist his leg to upset him. Then Epictetus said, "Please stop, you'll break my leg." The owner got even angrier and twisted his leg harder, and eventually, Epictetus had his leg broken. Then Epictetus said, "Oh look, I said it would break, didn't I?" The story probably came about because he was lame. And Stoic philosophers were also detached from death. Zeno is said to have greatly admired Socrates for drinking poison and facing death. According to a story, Zeno killed himself while holding his breath, saying, "Death, why do you call for me? I come." Cleanthes also committed suicide. It is said that he starved himself to death. There's a philosopher who was killed by someone else. Seneca, Emperor Nero's teacher, was accused of a conspiracy and sentenced to death. The executor cut his vein, but blood did not flow. So he went into a bathtub to quicken the flow. At his last moments, Seneca said the water was the sacred water of Jupiter. Let's wrap up. First, Stoics held the view that everything is material, and that substance change and move according to the laws of logos. Second, they believed that humans should accept their fate according to logos. It is like an actor has to accept the play according to the scenario. Third, Stoics emphasize inner power. Through human will, one should restrain oneself, hold back from temptation, fulfill one's duties, be free from passionate emotions, and have brotherhood for others.